Now Gavin Campbell makes a special appeal on behalf of the Disasters Emergency Committee.
This field tells a story. It's the story of hundreds of thousands of square miles of southern and eastern Africa, now totally destroyed by drought and in some cases war. It's the story too of 40 million people, that's 2/3 of the population of Britain, who now face starvation. Today, 7 leading British aid agencies, all working together, have launched an appeal for funds. Please don't turn your back on it. In Somalia, a terrible tragedy is unfolding. War and famine have ravaged the country and its people. It's feared that 1/4 of Somalia's children under 5 may already have died. Emergency aid is on its way, but much, much more is desperately needed. And not just for Somalia. Southern Africa is experiencing its worst drought in living memory. After years of poor rains, last year they simply didn't come, and the crops failed. Across 10 countries, the drought has dried up major rivers and reduced farmers to poverty and destitution. Here in Zimbabwe, the situation gets more serious by the day, and there's still no sign of rain. This dry valley is actually Lake Kyle. Under normal circumstances, it's the country's 2nd biggest lake, hundreds of feet deep. Now it's reduced to almost nothing. Only 2 years ago, Zimbabwe was self-sufficient in grain, with enough left over to feed other parts of Africa. But the failure of the harvest means that hundreds of thousands of people are now relying on erratic government food handouts. Here, as in neighbouring countries, the aid agencies have been distributing emergency food to the thousands of families who simply aren't able to feed their children. But even so, there's not enough to go round. And this feeding centre, like many others, can only provide for the under 5s and pregnant mothers.
These children are suffering from kwashiorkor, and that's due to a lack of proper food, lack of vitamins, and you can see them. You have the swollen legs here, you have the swollen arms, hands, the tummy here, also the face. You can see it's really swollen. These children, they look fat, but they aren't. It's the first sign of real starvation.
This little boy is just a year old, and already he's suffering from malnutrition. Like many others, he comes to this feeding station for what's supposed to be supplementary food. In fact, it's the only food he gets. And if this work can't continue, then this child, like many others, will die. Already, hundreds of thousands of cattle have died. This means that even if it does rain this year, people will have no way to plough their fields and plant their crops.
In previous years, we had experienced drought, but we could just transport our livestock from one region to another. Then this year it is a different situation, whereby the whole land is just drought all over. So we cannot even go anywhere with the cattle. We just look and watch them dying.
In spite of this, the people in these drought-stricken regions are doing everything they can to survive. Helped by the aid agencies, these villagers are building a dam in the hope that rain will eventually come. The agencies are also providing boreholes to reach the rapidly shrinking water table, and it's water from this source that can transform parched fields into vegetable gardens. Hundreds more villages could do the same if they too had help. Help with water, help with seeds, and help with tools. Otherwise, when the rains eventually do come, it'll be no use because the fields will be empty. The charities making this appeal are Action Aid, the British Red Cross, CAFOD, Christian Aid, Help the Aged, Oxfam, and Save the Children. They know what needs to be done, but now they need the money to do it. £5 will buy enough of this meal to feed these 25 children for a month. And £10 will buy enough seeds like this to plant and grow food for an entire village for a year. You can give using any major credit or debit card by phoning 0891 661 661. Please be patient if the lines are engaged. The calls will be charged at 36p a minute cheap rate and 48p a minute at all other times, but all profits are donated to the appeal. You can also give money or a cheque at any high street bank or post office. Or you can send a cheque to me, Gavin Campbell, Africa in Crisis, P.O. Box 999, London EC3A 9AA. The address and phone number are also in Radio Times and on page 627 of CFAX.
Please, people in Britain, can help us. We have no food. We're going to die of hunger.